QE2 was an interesting place. I think there's probably been quite a lot written and spoken about QE2, and I don't know that I need to add a lot more to it here, but it was a place that was beset, I think, with problems, with old-style management, with some very, very old-fashioned ideas, with hierarchies, with people who led the department who weren't interested really in doing anything even slightly differently. And so it was not a good learning experience, but, well, in terms of learning physiotherapy, advancing my physiotherapy knowledge, but one always learns something, and I learnt things in different ways. So Rotorua Hospital suited me a lot better, and that was really when I decided that I really wanted to pursue my love for neurology and neuro rehab, and I started to specialise in that field up at the hospital. I only ever worked part-time because I did have these, we had 4 children by then, and although initially Wattie and I shared the children, which was pretty fantastic, he would work afternoons, I would work mornings, and we'd parent the children. And we actually moved from one of the lakes and lived out on a property in the country that took quite a lot of work. It was quite a big orchard, and we ran that on organic lines, and had these children and played lots of music. Music was always a focus in our life, did heaps of music. I studied and passed my grade 8 a week before my twins were born. Wattie played in a band, an Irish kind of ceilidh band. We had lots of ceilidhs and lots of music. And these 4 children and physiotherapy just kind of fitted in the whole mix somehow. It wasn't something that I felt particularly passionate about. It was, I enjoyed it, but certainly didn't see my career going anywhere, didn't have any strong goals in terms of physiotherapy, didn't see myself in X amount of years having achieved A, B, C or D. My life was so incredibly busy and rich with all these different experiences we were having, tons of people coming through our lives, coming to stay out on the farmlet, and yeah, physiotherapy was really just one of my many interests. But at the end of that time in Rotorua, Wattie had decided that for him he could see the Mackenzie approach and the whole Mackenzie philosophy as being central to the way he wanted to run his life as a physio and be a physiotherapist. And so he decided that he wanted to pursue this and headed to Wellington and did the Mackenzie diploma. So he was down there for something like 13 weeks. And again, being a bit of a gypsy at heart, I was pretty keen to leave Rotorua and head for different experiences. And so we decided we'd head to the UK with these 4 children in tow. And I just wondered in the back of my mind if heading to the UK I may be able to do some further study myself and extend my own physio. And nothing was set, of course, and we actually headed to the UK after Wattie had finished his program in Wellington. We headed to the UK without jobs organised, without a place to live. We really had no idea where we were going, much to my mother's consternation. But we just packed, 6 suitcases, one for each of us, and headed off. Had a couple of weeks in Malaysia and Tiaman Island on the way, and headed over to Heathrow and looked at each other and thought, well, let's head up. Why don't we go up to Oxford, because we kind of remember enjoying that area when we were there previously. So we headed up to Oxford, and I said to Wattie, oh man, I'd really love to work full time. You've been pretty involved with that practice, and can I ever turn it working full time? And Wattie thought this was a great idea. He spent more time with the children, and I worked full time, and before long we had ourselves established in Oxford. We lived in a wee village outside Oxford, and I had a job at Radcliffe Infirmary, and then I also had a job in the community, and at the same time studied for my Masters through University of East London. And that was a perfect course. It was a distance course. I could live in Oxford, commute down. We did modules on site, but I could work from Oxford and live from Oxford. And I was pretty lucky to talk myself onto that master's program without any postgraduate diplomas or even having done any university papers. Margaret Hursley had taught a paper, Essentials of Neurobiology, and she taught us 2 papers, about 92 I think, before we headed for Britain anyway, and I'd scored an A+ or an A or some mark for those, and bowled into the university and said, look, yes, I've definitely done postgraduate work. This is what I've done, and it was nothing compared to today and what students need to go through before they even think about embarking on a master's program. But somehow I taught myself onto that, and I was a master's student, and absolutely delighted to be studying and learning, and it was a master's that was geared towards neurology, and man, was it a steep learning curve. I don't know that I've ever had such a steep learning curve. I had to just pick myself up and learn all sorts of skills that I didn't have. The IT facility, learning how to search literature, learning what to do with the literature once I found it, learning to reflect, learning to think at a completely deeper and different level to what I had to before. And so I would spend hours and hours and hours just getting myself up to speed, and working hard so that I could get as much from that program as I could. And my marks over the years reflect that incremental learning, and my aptitude improved as time went on. There were 6 of us doing that master's program, and as I said, we all had this interest in neuro, and for our master's thesis we did a collaborative program. We did a collaborative study, which was fantastic. We all took a different aspect of gait recovery after stroke, and were able to pool our results. So that was innovative and good and interesting. So that was just a fantastic experience for me, and I gained a huge amount from studying my Masters. Pretty frantic life, very frantic life actually, with travelling to and from. I was working full-time up in Oxford. I was working as community paediatrics by then, but working full-time. And Wattie was doing part-time private practice in a small village close to where we lived, and looking after the 4 children as they were growing up. So it was something I could not have done in New Zealand at the time. When we left to go to Britain in '93, there were no postgraduate master's programs or postgraduate diploma programs that would have suited me in my field of physiotherapy. It was just really on the edge. They were really just starting to come in, and by the mid-90s and the late 90s certainly, I could have very happily put a program together that suited me, but at the time I couldn't.